have to wait for the start of spring training or the Mariners season. We get to be spoiled with a visit early, but there's a reason that you're here. So we're going to get started with this. We'll get to some other stuff. I'm curious how you're spending your off season, and we'll talk about the Mariners, but we have to talk about Toys for Kids. There is a big event this weekend, but more importantly, there's lots of ways to get involved. Tell the people what they should know.
Exactly. 30 years ago, Stacy and Bump, I can't believe it's been this long. Dave Henderson and I, back in the 1995 season, he was doing games with us on radio and television. He had just retired after a long, great career. And pretty much every night after a ball game, we'd spend some time in Pioneer Square, go have a cold beverage at either Swanee's or, in this case, McCoy's Firehouse. And while we were sitting there, you know, as you walk through Pioneer Square, then and now, you can see the situation where there's a number of homeless people. But we didn't know the layers and how deep it went, you know, at that time. So anyway, we're sitting in McCoy's Firehouse 30 years ago, having a cold beer, and I saw on TV behind the bar a story on the homeless situation in King County. They said they could, of the homeless people they could count was 8,316. I'll never forget that figure. So I went, wow. So I turned to Hendu. I said, Hendu, if there's over 8,000 homeless people that they could count, I said, how many are kids? He said, I don't know. I said, neither do I. I said, let's round up the guys. This is 1995. There was a magical season for the ball club. You know, it was the year and the guys, the team that saved baseball here in the Northwest. I said, as soon as the season's over, let's round up the guys, pool our own money. Something I always want to do is let's go find these kids and with our own money, buy toys for them at Christmas time. Christmas is just right on the corner. This is the end of September. So that's what we did. We had the great run in September, got us into October for the very first time, playoffs in 1995, and beat the New York Yankees in the American League Division Series thanks to Edgar Martinez and Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson and all those guys. And then ended up losing, toward the end there against Cleveland. But after the season, we got together, 12 of us. There was Hendu and myself and Edgar Martinez and Jay Buhner and Dan Wilson, Omar Vizquel, Jeff Nelson, John Olerud, Aaron Seeley, Paul Sorrento, Johnny Moses, Matty Sinatra. We pulled our own money. We had $18,000. We wrote checks. And so now it was my job to go find the kids. So a friend of mine was running the First Avenue Service Center, which is now Compass. So I went to him right away. I said, Terry, I said, you know, we raised this money. We want to buy some toys for homeless kids. I said, how many kids do you have here? He said, well, in and out, we have about maybe 30. He said, but the Broadview Women's Shelter, which is just, you know, a few blocks away, they have about 33, 35 moms there with about 60 kids. Go see them. Harborview Hospital Medical Center had a party that for homeless children that they took care of during the course of the year, and so I went to them. So we had 3 homeless agencies we worked with, and with our $18,000 that we raised amongst ourselves, we bought toys for about 300 kids. So about 3 years later, Virg Fazio from the RBI Club, who was the former publisher of the Seattle PI, called me up and said, Rick, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're pulling our own money together, and we're buying toys for homeless kids at Christmas time. He said, well, why don't you come to the ballpark? They have a dinner and auction every year at the ballpark. Bring some autographed baseballs, bats, jerseys, hats, and we'll give you the money for Toys for Kids. I said, oh, that'd be great. So we raised about $20,000. So with that money, I went and found more agencies that needed our help. Long story short, fast forward to last year, we had about 700 people at the Bellevue Hyatt. This year it's at the Hyatt Regency in Seattle. We raised $1 million.
Oh, my God.
And now we work with 36 different homeless agencies. We purchased brand new toys for over 20,000 kids. We started a scholarship program after David sadly passed away 9 years ago. And we started the Dave Henderson Scholarship Program. 9 years ago, Stacy and Bump, we gave away one $5,000 scholarship. Following year, we had a little more money. We gave 2, then 4, then 6 and 8. Last year, we awarded 14 $5,000 college scholarships, 13 this year. So over the last 9 seasons, we've awarded 65 $5,000 college scholarships. And we do other programs as well. You know, backpacks for back to school in August. Heather Jones is our executive director. She's absolutely amazing. So this year, our dinner and auction, our gala is coming up on Saturday at the Hyatt Regency in Seattle. We'll have almost 700 people there, and we're going to raise a bunch of money, and we're going to make sure that Santa Claus shows up for these homeless kids and their moms. At the Broadview Women's Shelter, we have our Christmas party and the kids open up their presents and everything. If you have a few of the guys there to help out, and then we give each mom $100 bill. It's like we gave them $1 million.
Man.
And so it's really grown over the last 30 years, and we're going to keep it going as long as I can, as long as I'm able to. And this year is going to be a great event. So if you want to help out, the Gala is coming up on Saturday. Of course, it's sold out, but you can go to our website, which is tfkseattle.org, and donate. We'd love to have everybody help out as much as they can. We have other programs as well. We just started a program called Rick's Locker, where I want to make sure that kids who can't afford a baseball bat, a glove, a baseball equipment, soccer equipment, football equipment, basketball equipment, can have a chance to play the game of baseball. And thanks to our head groundskeeper, Kevin Dvorak, and his crew, they went out to 2 Little League fields in Falls City. They revamped the 2 outfields there. They reseeded, fertilized.
Just went out and did it?
Well, yeah, and they needed some help out there. So the Little Leaguers going to play on a beautiful field next spring, but I said, I need a sandlot. I said, you got to promise me that there's going to be a day or two where it's designated just for any kid to go out there and play.
Yeah.
Because that was my goal years ago. So we're finally going to have Little League field / the sandlot there in Falls City. So it's going to be something.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, that's great. And I was growing up, I was one of the kids who benefited from programs like that. So I thank you for the kids, and for kids like me growing up. Have you been able to kind of keep track of a kid or two and see their progress and what they're doing now?
It's been so tough, but I'll tell you a story, Bump and Stacy. About 5 years ago, this kid came up to me, and he said, 15 years ago, you came to the Broadview Women's Shelter, and I got a football. He said, I want to tell you that was the greatest gift I ever got in my life. You really helped out my mom's situation and me. You gave us hope and everything. So I don't get a chance to find these kids. They go off and they are better off. They get to the women's shelter, but they get into low-income housing, and they get a better situation in their life. They're in their horrible situations to get out of where they were to the Broadview Women's Shelter. So these kids grow up and they have a chance. We just, it's not just giving these kids a toy; it's giving them hope.
Right.
And that's the what we try to do. So, somebody reached out to you a long time ago. So that one kid really made an impact on me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think, too, like, we always like to encourage, as I know you do, Rick, that everyone stay involved with your community and give back at all times of the year. But there really is a feeling when you start getting into this moment, because so many of us spend so much time with families and are so fortunate to have happy Thanksgivings with our families and Christmases and holidays. So while everyone should get involved in June and in February, there is this push this time of the year where you just look at everything you're grateful for and you go, oh my God, like I need to spread this love and have other people. And how do you not think of kids?
Yeah. It's nice to give them a chance. And that's what we try to do. I mean, during the season, we have, we get a chance to bring a lot of the kids from Atlantic Street Center and the Broadview Women's Shelter out to the ballpark. So we have Christmas in July, and then in August, we fill a bunch of hundreds and hundreds of backpacks, thanks to Brett Alston and Red Cloud Consulting, his wife and his family. The kids get together and they put in all the school supplies that the kids need. And there's like I said, there's other programs as well. So it's an ongoing thing, and our main goal is to make sure that these kids get a toy at Christmas time, and Santa Claus shows up for them, and that's what we're going to do again on Saturday. So
what's it been like to watch this thing grow? Could you imagine in 1995, 30 years later, you'd be sending 14 kids $5,000 on scholarship checks?
Yeah, we had no idea. We went in the back room of this restaurant, Bagacha Restaurant in Issaquah, Edgar and Jay and Dan and their wives and Hendu and everything. Little did we know what was going to happen, of course, 30 years later. Who does?
Right.
Who knows where Stacy and Bump, you're going to be in 30 years, or I know I'm not going to be around in 30 years, but, but you can have an impact. You just have to start with an idea, with a vision, And when you surround yourself with great people like you have here, like Maddie over there and Curtis behind that window and all the other great people here at this radio station, you can move mountains. You really can make a difference in people's lives. So, but at that time, Bump, man, we had no idea. We just wanted to help, 300 kids. We went, wow, 300 kids got a toy this year, and now it's 20,000.
Right.
So, no, we had no clue, but thank goodness that it is where it is right now.
Obviously, we wanted to ask Mariners questions, but I found the first thing I was thinking was instead about the Mariners players getting involved and what that experience has been like. Because I would imagine that when you're in Bump, this, not only having been a player, but being a coach, there is this kind of like civic responsibility that I find that athletes so easily adopt. Like there's a kind of a responsibility you learn from a young age.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that, it's not easy to oversee charities, that there are lots of players over the years that have said, Rick, what can I do? How can I help?
Right. And that's what we did when we first started. Every guy said yes, when we got started, when we went to them. And then during the course of the year, we don't have, back then it was easy because Edgar lived here, and Dave, I forgot Dave Valley. Dave Valley lived here, and all the other guys lived here. We don't have too many guys that actually live here anymore. Austin Voth is here because he grew up here. He lives here. He's coming to the Gala on Saturday. Taylor Saucedo lives here. He's coming to the dinner and auction. Dave Valley is coming back. John Olerud obviously grew up here, lives here. He's coming to the Gala as well. So that's really nice. But it's so easy. These guys, they want to help out. And, they're going to be there on Saturday, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, but those guys like you, Bump, they feel, this commitment to, help out in the community. And they have a platform. And the guys that really reach out to kids or to families or whatever, charity they want to help out or people in different situations other than their own, they do it. They have a responsibility, and they do that. So thank you.
I run a nonprofit myself, and I found in the earlier stages, it's always tough to get people to kind of buy into what you're doing. They want to make sure it's authentic. Your mission is on point. The people that you're with are good people. How easy is it now to just be like, hey, man, you know what we're doing. 30 years in the game.
Yeah.
Come help these kids out.
It gets easier every year, especially when they attend the Gala. So many times over the last 30 years where somebody bought a ticket to the Gala and just went for the first time, maybe 10 years ago. The next year they buy a table. Or a couple of years later, they do a sponsorship for $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 because they see the impact that we have in the community, help out these kids and their moms in the 36 different homeless agencies that we work with. I think it's about 36 right now. So it gets easier every year. Once they get there, we have a guest speaker that really gets to you, That one kid got to me a few minutes ago, so I apologize. But, once they get to that Gala, they see the impact that we make, and they're all in. So, and the players too. So we really appreciate it.
Again, the website. So as Rick mentioned, the Gala itself, an amazing event, is sold out. So if you're listening and you find yourself thinking, well, I want to get involved, I'm so motivated and touched by this conversation, tfkseattle.org. It is not hard to find out where to donate. They make it very, very simple. There's a giant red button at the top. You will not have a hard time navigating this. Just tfkseattle.org. And again, I know that it's always important to stress community involvement and charity throughout the year. But guys, we know what happens this time of the year. You do just start thinking about all the things you're grateful for. And so if there ever was a time when you felt like giving back to your community, especially when it comes to these kids, tfkseattle.org. We are going to end the conversation by getting back to this. I want to jump into the off season though.
Can I mention one guy that I forgot and I shouldn't have? JP Crawford.
I was wondering.
JP Crawford lives here.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to get here because he's going to be a daddy for the first time, coming up. So Kathleen's getting ready to have their first child. Otherwise, he would have been at the Gala. He's there all the time. And he goes to our Christmas parties, him and Kathleen, his wife, to, pass out the toys. So JP Crawford has been huge for us. He's all in along with the other guys too. So I can't thank J.P. Crawford enough. Man.
I was going to say, sticking on the topic of JP, I know he didn't have statistically the season this year that he wanted, dealing with injuries, but he has evolved into such a leader and such a centerpiece of this team. What's it been like watching that? Because you've seen the very beginning of his time with Seattle, obviously following an acquisition via trade. How's he evolved as a leader here?
Yeah, he's really taken ownership in the ball club and his role as a leader. I mean, 2020, he won a Gold Glove with Evan White, working with the greatest infield coach in the history of Major League Baseball, Perry Hill.
Yeah.
And now we have two more, Cal Raleigh and Dylan Moore. But he is just so doggone talented and got better and better and better every year. And he said, I think on his own, he said, listen, we can do something special here. When you have an athlete, on your team or in your organization that says, we can be better, not only myself, he made himself into a Gold Glove fielder and he could hit. He had a really good year a couple of years ago. The injuries this year kind of slowed him down. He's going to be back next year. He's going to be just fine. But when he reaches out to the rest of the team with his attitude, and his drive and his commitment to make this team better and to win more games than they did the previous year, you're a leader. And you do it by, number one, what you do on the field. When the other young players and the veterans too see, how you prepare and how you play each and every day. You play hard every day. And then you have your conversations with guys that maybe if they're struggling a little bit, you can lift them up. That's a real leader. When you can lift up the team. When you make your team better by the way you play, by the way you communicate with everybody, that's a real leader. And J.P. Crawford is a leader on this team.
How would you describe the journey for Julio becoming a leader? Because you're one of the youngest guys on the team. That bank is looking real good, Riz. And, you're naturally thrusted into that position. But I would imagine there's been, a process for him to kind of get comfortable with who he is.
Yeah. I mean, when you're 21 years of age, when he got to the big leagues, 2 years ago, that's tough. You just want to take care of yourself and get to the big leagues and prove that you're a big league player. And then he becomes an all-star his rookie season, American League Rookie of the Year, and an all-star the following year. And this year, he still hit 273, even though he really struggled in the early part of the season. But, again, he's one of the best players in the game of baseball. And then he's also a guy that can lift up this team, put him on his back for 2 weeks and carry the team when you need that kind of help. But he's also, the kind of guy that in that clubhouse he makes a difference as well. And he's got that swagger, but he's really, in tune to what this ball club needs, how to make everybody else better from the time they show up in the clubhouse that day to the time they get on the field and throughout the course of the ball game. I love this kid. He's going to be a superstar. He's going to bounce back and have a heck of a year this year. But that's asking a lot for a kid. I mean, we signed him when he was, 16, 17 years old. And I remember what I was doing. I was in high school trying to make the baseball team at 16, and at 23, I was washing uniforms in the minor leagues, doing 3 innings of play-by-play. And this kid is one of the most talented players in the game of baseball. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do next year, the next 5 years, the next 10, 15 years in the big leagues. He's really, really special and a super kid.
JP, Julio, so many returning players are also people we're very familiar with. And we're familiar with Dan Wilson, but it was Dan Wilson, the player. And while he was involved in the organization, we're now going to get a full season of Dan Wilson, the manager. Tell us what it's been like watching, because you know him well. And even though it was obviously a tough situation to take over, what do you make of his opportunity here heading into now his first offseason as manager?
Yeah, Stacy and Bump, when he took over the job, I thought, man, they got the right guy. Not that Scott Service wasn't. I thought Scotty did a great job here for 9 years, no doubt about it. But to come in with somebody to get that instant respect because he knew these guys. He knew these kids when they were in the minor leagues because he was coaching, down there in the minor leagues. He'd go visit, Tacoma and Modesto and Arkansas. So he knew all these guys. So he had instant respect. He's got instant credibility. He played in the big leagues for, 12, 14 years, 12 years here in the big leagues and a catcher, and those catchers seem to make really good managers because they got the game in front of them. They got to take care of the pitching staff.
Something about those catchers.
It's about something about those catchers. Stacey, I don't know, make good managers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they do everything. Bruce Bochy and
yeah.
right on down the list. You know, we could be here forever talking about all the great catchers who became outstanding managers. And Danny Wilson's going to be an outstanding manager. He knows and understands the game. He's so intelligent. He's going to sit and listen. You know, there's a lot of meetings that go on during the course of baseball season, from early in the afternoon to the time you walk out on the field. He's able to take in all that information and pass it along to the players. He's going to be able to designate whatever the coaching staff needs to do. Brought in Edgar last year, that helped out. Manny Acta, Perry Hill, and all the other guys on this. We got two of the best pitching coaches in all of baseball, and Pete Woodworth and Trent Blank. These guys are amazing what they have done with our young pitchers, adding a pitch, reshaping pitches, the philosophy, the thinking about how to pitch and what to throw, when to throw, and all that stuff goes on behind the scenes. But Danny Wilson is able to put all that together, and he learned from one of the best in the history of the game of baseball, Lou Piniella. My question was, is Danny going to be tough enough or mean enough? He's such a nice guy. You know, he's the nicest guy in the world. He's able to kick some butt, you know. But I think he'll be able to do that too. I think he came in last year to take a look around.
Yeah.
To assess everything. Yeah. And we made a heck of an improvement, you know, in a very short period of time with Danny and Edgar Martinez. So I think we're going to see Dan now have his team.
All right. So, again, you guys, there is a gala on Saturday, but this one is sold out. So you can go, and you should go to tfkseattle.org. Amber and Wenatchee texted in Riz and said, "Tell Riz, thanks for making me cry. Tears of joy." But also so many thanks from all of us in this state for doing this all these years. And honestly, I think that's the message that I know Bump and myself want to leave you with is, Riz, you're going to spend this weekend at this gala thanking a ton of people for their donations and their time. But we want to thank you, and I know listeners feel the same way because, again, while the table is going to be flipped for you, and you're going to be, you know, asking for these donations and working on it, this is years and years and years of you being a pillar in the community and also standing for what that means and doing it all for these kids. So thank you so much. And you guys do not go anywhere. Again, if you have questions about the site or any further questions, feel free to text into the Mac and Jack's text line. This is Bump and Stacy.